Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television's on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and Free TV. Now the news in full. The federal government has announced a review of the tuition fees for students in federal technical colleges and directed a nationwide validation of students enrolled in the technical and vocational education and training TVET sector. The Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Alausa, noted that the review will ensure that no student enrolled in any federal technical college bears the burden of paying tuition or any institutional fees that could constitute a barrier to assessing quality technical education. Alausa made the disclosure at the T31 student selection exercise for admission into Federal Technical College. Former National Chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, has maintained that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration has laid a solid foundation for Nigeria's long-term development despite prevailing economic challenges. Speaking with journalists in Kano, Ganduje also downplayed the prospect of leading opposition figures in the 2027 presidential election and called for the reforms to Nigeria's multi-party system. Global TV correspondent Idris Jibrin was there and filed in this report.
Former APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje believes that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu deserves another 4-year mandate to consolidate the reforms initiated by his administration, stressing that the president has recorded measurable progress in tackling insecurity, stabilizing the economy, expanding critical infrastructure, and strengthening key public institutions.
Aswaju has done well, as earlier mentioned, in the provision of infrastructural facilities. If you take the super highway from Badagari to Calabar, cutting across 11 coastal states, connecting them, increasing socio-economic activities, increasing tourism, even,
Ahead of the 2027 general elections, Ganduje maintained that President Tinubu remains well positioned for re-election, arguing that major opposition figures who had previously served as governors failed to leave governance record capable of convincing Nigerians to entrust them with the nation's highest office.
I don't think Peter Obi and Kano, and Konkoso ticket will succeed in Kano. It will not succeed. In fact, it is dead on arrival because Peter Obi was a governor in the Southeast geopolitical zone, a governor in Anambra State. What did he do as a governor? What legacy did he leave as a governor? And from that, what other responsibility in governance did he hold that he made a mark to the extent that we believe he will be able to manage this country?
The former APC chairman further advocated reforms to Nigeria's party system, saying the proliferation of political parties has weakened democratic development and that a smaller number of strong and ideologically driven political parties like the APC would encourage issue-based politics, promote stability, and reduce opportunities for what he described as opportunistic politicians to exploit the electoral process. While acknowledging that political competition remains essential in any democracy, Ganduje said electoral reforms should strengthen governance and deepen democratic accountability.
And this high number of political parties is making INEC difficult to administer the election. If you look the size of the ballot paper,
The former Kano State Governor expressed confidence that the APC would retain power in the 2027 general elections, adding that President Tinubu's reforms would continue to gain public support as their long-term impact become more evident. From Kano, Idris Jubrin, Global Television News.
A federal high court in Abuja has granted bail to the former managing director of the Warri Refinery and Petrochemical Company, Jimoh Olasukomi Yasu, in the sum of 500 million naira of alleged money laundering offences. Justice Iyang Eko granted the bail with strict conditions, including the surrender of the defendant's international passport. Ubong Osoro reports.
The case stems from an investigation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) into the management of funds at the Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company during Jimoh Yasu's tenure as managing director. The anti-graft agency alleges that he laundered proceeds of unlawful activity by funneling funds through third parties, making cash transactions above the legal threshold outside the banking system, and returning money allegedly linked to contractors. Following the conclusion of his investigation, the EFCC filed an 8-count charge against the former refinery boss, leading to his arraignment before the Federal High Court. However, Yisawu pleaded not guilty to all charges after they were read to him in open court. Justice Ekwo admitted the defendants to bail in the sum of 500 million naira, with one surety who must own landed property within the Federal Capital Territory. The court also ordered Yisawu to deposit his international passport with the court registry and barred him from traveling outside Nigeria without prior approval of the court. Pending the perfection of the bail conditions, the judge ordered that the defendants remain in the custody of the EFCC. The court subsequently adjourned the matter for the commencement of trial on a date to be communicated to the parties involved. Ubong Usoro, Global TV News.
A federal high court in Abuja sentenced 2 senior commanders of the Ansaru terrorist group to life imprisonment after they pleaded guilty to a 32-count charge bordering on terrorism and related offences. Justice Emeka Uwate held that the prosecution had proved its case following the defendant's guilty plea. Again, our judiciary correspondent Ubong Usoro tells us more.
The trial followed the arrest of 2 Ansaru commanders during coordinated security operations by Nigerian security agencies. After months of investigation, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation filed a 32-count charge against them, accusing them of playing key roles in the activities of the terrorist group and its operation within and outside Nigeria. The convicts, Mahmoud Usman, also known as Abu Bara, and Abubakar Abba, also known as Mabu al-Nigeri, admitted to charges including terrorism, kidnapping, terrorism financing, illegal mining to fund terrorist activities, fabrication of improvised explosive devices (IEDs), coordinated terrorist sleeper cells, and maintaining links with terrorist groups operating across the Sahel and Maghreb regions. After the defendants changed their early plea from not guilty to guilty, Justice Emeka Nwite held that the plea was made voluntarily and in compliance with the provisions of the administration of the criminal justice system. Speaking to journalists after the proceedings, counsel to the defendants, Bala Dakop, said he had fully explained the implications of pleading guilty to his clients and that they understood the legal consequences of their decision.
And the trial back comment when they eventually had to upload the commemorated their plea deals. And we have no option actually special defines when they met their decision that they wanted to check that you have to pay that value the time for to be made.
Justice Nwite subsequently convicted both defendants on all 32-count charge and sentenced them to life imprisonment. bringing the terrorism trial to a close. However, the prosecution team declined to speak with journalists after the judgment. Ubong Usoro, Global TV News.
Following the deadly communal clash between Fulani and Kamuku group in Kagara Emirates, the Niger State Governor Mohammed Umaru Bago has appealed for lasting peace among communities in Rafi local government area. Now, the governor made the appeal during a visit to the Emir's palace and announced measures to prevent a reoccurrence of the violence and provide relief to affected victims. Sadia Yakubu reports.
Governor Muhammad Umar Bago described the communal clash as unfortunate and extended his condolences to families who lost loved ones, homes, and other valuables. He attributed the crisis to alleged land grabbing by some title holders and the misconduct of certain vigilante members. The governor directed all those identified in connection with the incident to report to the police headquarters in Minna or face arrest, stressing that no individual is above the law. As part of effort to cushion the impact of the violence, Governor Bago announced a donation of 1 million naira each to the families of those killed, victims receiving treatment in hospital, and owners of houses destroyed during the clash.
This is a place that was ravaged by the insecurity for a long time, and now they've returned back to peace. But land grabbers within the Emirates system, within the system of the local government, have continued to sell and trade and grab land that belongs to people who are traditionally farmers, who are also herders.
Governor Bago also warned politicians against sponsoring violence through their supporters, urging them to promote peace, dialogue, and unity. To address the root causes of the conflict, the governor directed that no land should be sold within the Emirates without government approval through the Emirates Council. He also urged residents to channel grievances through lawful authorities instead of resorting to violence. The governor further tasked the Emir of Kagara with appointing district and ward heads from all ethnic groups to strengthen inclusion. The governor further tasked the Emir of Kagara with appointing district and ward heads from all ethnic groups to strengthen inclusion, mutual trust, and peaceful coexistence.
And also for those who have taken laws into their hands in the name of vigilance or vigilante, that are using weapons to hit people. All this aggravated this crisis, and we have come to the Emirates and have sounded warning that land speculators going forward, there is no land, even if it belongs to you, you can sell in this Emirate. You have to get clearance from the state government through the Emirate Council.
The Emir of Kagara, Ahmed Garba Tahiru II, commended the governor's swift intervention, describing the clash as unfortunate and assuring that the Emirate Council would work with all stakeholders to sustain peace across the area. Representatives of both the Kamuku and Fulani communities also welcomed the initiative and pledged to embrace dialogue and peaceful coexistence.
We have been talking to our people on the need to live peacefully with our neighbors, which by the grace of God, the intervention of the governor will go a long way in bringing about lasting peace amongst our people and our neighbors.
The intervention marks a renewed push by the Niger State government to restore peace, strengthen community trust, and ensure that those behind the violence are brought to justice. Sadia Yakubu, Global TV News.
The Edo State Command of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has arrested a couple for allegedly operating a drug warehouse in Benin City. The Edo State Commander of the NDLEA, Michelle Ofoyeju, disclosed this in a statement on Monday, saying the warehouse located in a residential area along Sapele Road, Benin City, was raided following credible intelligence. He said the main suspects, a husband and wife, were arrested during the operation while a large quantity of illicit drugs was recovered from the warehouse. You are watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. News Cycle continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the weather forecast. The past few mornings have been relatively calm with pockets of weather activities. Tuesday brings a slight change as morning rains are expected in the south-south region of the country, to also include parts of Ebonyi, Niger, Kwara, Nasarawa, Benue, Adamawa, Taraba, and Kebbi states. Increased moisture and daytime heating will trigger thunderstorm activities with light rains later during the day in the north and the north-central region, while the southern parts of the country will experience moderate rains. With more clouds and rains in the forecast, temperatures are expected to ease in many areas. Stay with us for the temperature forecast. I am Theodora Itum. Thank you for watching.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is News Cycle on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, the National Agricultural Development Fund, NADF, has commenced a nationwide training program for 1,884 agricultural extension personnel and food security specialists under its grassroots digital extension core initiative. Now, the first phase, holding in Lafia, Nasarawa State, brings together participants from the North Central states and the Federal Capital Territory. Speaking on behalf of the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of NADF, Mohammed Ibrahim, the fund's head of the Policy and Advocacy, Iljide Olorunde, said the program is aimed at strengthening extension services, improving technology adoption, and enhancing food security. She disclosed that participants will be trained in digital extension, climate-smart agriculture, data collection, and farmer advisory services, with successful trainees receiving digital tablets to support their work. The federal government has called on state government to allocate legally certified land for agricultural development to increase food production, attracting private investment, and strengthening food security across the country. Addressing journalists at the State House in Abuja, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of NELDA, Engineer Corlinus Adebayo, said the authority cannot commit public funds to land without legal ownership of certification. Anita Patrick tells us more.
The National Agricultural Land Development Authority, NALDA, says efforts to tackle food insecurity and expand agricultural production will remain limited unless state governments provide legally allocated land for development. Adebayo explained that the NALDA Act empowers the authority to reclaim and develop suitable grazing and degraded forest reserves for agricultural purposes.
You see governors like that. You see governors that message you and are saying, look, we're coming to NALDA on our own. But also you see some governors where you write and you don't get a response in a year or two to even the letter. So it's mixed and it's individual based. There are certain states that are forward thinking. There are certain states that still value and hold on to land without adding any value to it and say, oh, this land, why should we just give this land? But at the end of the day, I keep explaining to the governors that, look, this land, NALDA is not taking it. NALDA is not going to resell it. NALDA can only allocate to farmers to use for a specific period of time.
He noted that several state governments have been approached to release abandoned forest reserves, which he said could be transformed into productive agricultural estates, creating jobs, improving food production, and reducing insecurity in affected communities. The NALDA boss further disclosed that livestock companies seeking land for large-scale feed production have already indicated interest in partnering with the authority, with Kwara State among the first to express readiness to support the initiative.
In that location, you also have a mechanization center, which we have built in all the locations. It has service bay, parking spaces for tractors. Now, these centers are not going to be run solely by NALDA. Some locations will be run by NALDA because we have equipment. Some locations will be given to private sector operators. We have so many mechanization companies. In the country, you have Hello Tractor, you have Tractor on the Go, you have different people. So you can now bring them on board, let them participate and provide these services to the farmers so that, you know, when you have that private sector participation, you now see that development and growth in the sector comes into play.
Nalda says greater collaboration between the federal and state governments will be key to unlocking Nigeria's agricultural potential and achieving sustainable food security. Anietie Patrick, Global TV News.
And on the foreign scene, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called on countries around the world to help protect commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, accusing Iran of using the strategic waterway as leverage in escalating Middle East conflict. Rubio made the remark while speaking to reporters at Joint Base Andrews before departing for the Philippines to attend the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Foreign Ministers meeting. Mukhtar Qasim tells us more.
According to Rubio, the burden of securing one of the world's most important maritime trade routes should not rest solely on the United States. He said countries that rely on Strait of Hormuz for global trade and energy supplies must contribute financial support, equipment, or other resources to help guarantee the free movement of commercial vessels through the waterway.
Well, the only reason why the U.S. is conducting strikes is against assets of Iran that are being used to attack global commercial shipping. The Straits of Hormuz are international waterways, and they continue to launch against ships in that international waterway. Other countries should join us in this effort, but the United States is involved not just in protecting those ships, but in targeting the places that they use to launch these missiles and drones.
Rubio also maintained that Washington remains committed to pursuing a diplomatic solution with Iran, but insisted any future agreement must be genuine and respected by all parties. He argued that recent reported attacks on commercial shipping undermine existing understandings and raise fresh concerns about regional stability and international commerce.
I mean, the straits are supposed to be open, free of tolls, free of attack, free of all the things they're doing against these ships. So they can't have an MOU that's alive if they're violating the terms of it. What I will say is that the United States always remains open to a diplomatic solution. We've tried multiple times with Iran, and we'll continue to try. If that door opens, we'll be happy to see it open.
The Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's busiest energy corridors, carrying a significant share of global oil and gas export, making any disruption to traffic through the route a major concern for international markets. The latest tension came amid renewed hostilities between the United States and Iran following the collapse of a fragile ceasefire. Mukhtar Qasim, Global TV News.
Britain's new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has pledged to restore stability, tackle homelessness, and unveil a 10-year plan to transform the country after formally taking office following the resignation of Keir Starmer. Burnham made the pledge in his first address outside 10 Downing Street after being appointed by King Charles III at the Buckingham Palace. Mukhtar Qasim tells us more.
Andy Burnham has officially become Britain's new Prime Minister, promising what he described as a fresh direction for the country after years of political instability and economic challenges. In his first speech outside number 10 Downing Street, Burnham said Britain must regain its stability and rebuild public confidence by making politics work better for the ordinary people.
Britain needs to show the world that we can regain our stability once again. And that is our challenge, to make politics work, to make it work better. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better.
Burnham also announced that his first instruction in office would be to begin efforts to end rough sleeping across the country, describing the move as a reflection of the values his government intends to uphold. He added that his administration would soon introduce measures to ease the cost of living before unveiling a broader 10-year plan focused on housing, education, mental health support, and long-term economic renewal.
Now, I will soon go through that door behind me and issue my first instruction to end rough sleeping in our country. Later this year, I will bring forward a new plan for Britain, a 10-year plan, laying out a path from where we are now to where I believe we all want Britain to be, wherever we're coming from, whatever party we support.
Burnham becomes Britain's 7th Prime Minister in a decade and now faces the challenge of restoring public trust while steering the Labour government through mounting economic pressures and political uncertainty. Mukhtar Qasim, Global TV News.
In sports news now, Nigeria's Super Eagles have retained 26th place in the latest FIFA Men's World Ranking, but dropped to 4th in the African following Monday's update. Chile's side have not played since their 2-1 defeat to Portugal in an international friendly in June, with the result doing little to alter their position in the global standings. At the top of the global ranking, newly crowned world champion Spain turned to number 1, replacing Argentina, who dropped to 2nd after losing the World Cup final. France, England and Brazil complete the world's top 5. Former Liverpool and England star Kevin Keegan has died at age 75 after battling cancer, his family announced on Monday. Keegan, regarded as one of the greatest players of his generation, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and underwent treatment in January. He also won the European Cup in 1977 and the FIFA FA Cup in 1974 during an iconic 6-year spell at Anfield before joining German club Hamburg in 1977. Now that's it on News Cycle. Here's a quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276 and Free TV. Now kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using Global TV NG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good evening.